welcome back. This is the round of 16 of the ESL Southeast Asia Legends Tournament number 11, Infernity versus WaningMoon. And it looks like WaningMoon is playing Mage, Infernity is playing Warlock. So let's see how this one is going to turn out. So looking at the cards in both players' hand, Frostbolt, Flame Waker, the coin, another Flame Waker, and an Arcane Intellect for WaningMoon. Mortal Coil, Twilight Drake, Shadow Flame, Siphon Soul, Anti-Killbot, Sunfury Protector, and Lord Draxus, and Twilight Drake for Infernity. So it looks like he is just going to tap for this turn. Let's see how this is going to turn out for WaningMoon. Haven't seen Flame Waker at all as one of the new cards. After you cast a spell, deal 2 damage randomly split amongst all enemies. So that's actually quite beneficial in like an offensive deck. I'd guess that uses a lot of spells, and especially if your opponent doesn't have too much out on the field. So 1 damage landing on the Ancient Watcher and another damage landing on the Ancient Watcher, so that leaves 5 damage out on, or 3 health left on the Ancient Watcher, but of course nothing that a Fireball can't take care of at this point. Now Infernity with the Mountain Giant being pulled here. Let's take a quick look at what Infernity wants to do strategy-wise. It's very much the standard style of Warlock, Mountain Giant, with a lot of Giants, a lot of defensive values, and just wanting to outgrind the opponent. WaningMoon wanting to get as much damage out as possible. Has that Archmage Antonidas for his plays there later on.
So many possibilities.
So WaningMoon is almost out of time though. Secret will trigger Mirror Entity, will give a copy of the Anti-Killbot, so pretty much in a good spot right now. WaningMoon can do a lot of damage here, has about 5-8 damage out on the field, can do a little bit more if he does play the Flamewalker and Frostbolt.
What to do? What to do?
So WaningMoon has 5 mana, so with the options he has right here, so the things he can do, Azure Drake to give it a little bit of extra spell damage, but I can imagine he might want to play that Flame Waker and then bring out a Frostbolt, but the spell damage, the bonus spell damage from the Azure Drake is pretty good as well. So now Infernity has taken a lot of damage, has to make some plays pretty soon. Though Mountain Giant costing 3 mana, not 12, and Mountain Giant costing 9 mana. Unfortunately, those mana issues are a little bit off. Twilight Drake might be a good play for him, but he needs something to clear out the board, so, or at least play defensively for a while. So one option he has is playing the Sludge Belcher that can taunt it up, and then playing the Sunfury, or playing the Twilight Drake in tandem with the Sunfury Protector to set up a defensive board. He has to do something at this point, because otherwise he's just gonna die to like a whole bunch of spell damage coming in the next turn.
So many possibilities.
So Twilight Drake looks like it is going to be his choice, and pretty much the only choice he had at this point. Now if WaningMoon draws an instant Iron Beak, oh, that's going to be huge for him. Looks like second Flame Waker might be his card of choice here, just to set up a very offensive oriented play at this point, as it will do 4 damage randomly across all the opponents, and he does have a spell to follow up with. It can actually follow up with 2 spells if he does play Arcane Missiles and Frostbolt.
Serve the Fire Lord.
So Frostbolt for 4 damage is gonna come across, and 1 damage landing onto both Gul'dan and the Twilight Drake for both Flame Wakers. So still 4 damage remaining, or 4 health remaining on that Twilight Drake. Now, Arcane Missiles could be an option here. Does decide to sacrifice his Mana Worm to take care of the Twilight Drake. An empty board now, and that means that Infernity can take a whole bunch of damage with these Arcane Missiles for 4 and another 4 landing, dropping Infernity to 8. But I don't think that WaningMoon wants to do that, because Infernity actually doesn't have too much options here. Like, only has defensive options for now. Like Molten Giant for 4 mana, and he can't play Shadow Flame because that's another 4 mana as well. Like, he doesn't have a reliable combo that can actually take care of everything out on the field. Next turn he will have, because he's sitting at 8 mana.
Possibilities.
But not for this turn. So let's take a quick look at what he can do this turn with 7 mana. Well, Twilight Drake is one thing, but does he have anything to taunt it up? No, he doesn't. So pretty much his only realistic play is Loatheb, and I'm not even sure if he even wants to tap, because he'd be like sitting at the 15 range, which might be a little bit dangerous. But I feel that Loatheb is Infernity's only choice at this point of the game.
I'm almost out of time.
So does decide to go for a tap. Gets a Hellfire, though. Loatheb is going to be played right now. So it did decide to go for the tap. A little bit risky here. And WaningMoon drawing into a Fireball. Can only play that Archmage Antonidas or Arcane Missiles right now. So let's take a look at WaningMoon's total damage. So has 8 damage out on the board. Can do off another 4 damage with the Arcane Missiles for a total of 12. Plus the 4 from the Flame Wakers.
What to do? What to do?
So can do about 16 damage. So if WaningMoon is really lucky, and he can like hit pretty much everything onto Infernity and end the game right now. But I assume he's not gonna do that, because it's still a little bit risky. Has a Fireball to finish it off next turn as well. So I feel that WaningMoon kind of has to take his chances at this point. I mean, Fireball does cost 9 mana now, so he could just pass the attack and get a definite Archmage Antonidas Fireball for next turn, and then try to finish it off like that. Because Infernity already used one of his anti-heal bots to heal himself back up. Is actually going to sacrifice the Azure Drake here, and is going to pass turn like that. Still has both of his Flame Wakers out on the field. Now back to Infernity. Hellfire not enough to take care of everything out on the field, so I feel that Infernity's best option might be just a giant Shadow Flame. One other thing he can do, of course, is bring out the Hellfire, and then Mortal Coil. Does he have double Mortal Coil? I have to check. No, he doesn't. So he still has to take care of the other Flame Wakers. So has to do something to take down pretty much everything out on the board, which the most reliable way is to use a giant and then Shadow Flame it.
I'm almost out of time.
Infernity almost out of time though, so it looks like he is gonna go for that play though. Actually, is not gonna do so. It's gonna go for the Twilight Drake play, so not doing anything at all. Mountain Giant and Twilight Drake being the only cards played here. Molten Giant to come across as well, but that is going to be game, I think, because WaningMoon is just gonna fireball across the board for 5 damage. Is gonna attack with the Flame Wakers if that's even needed. At that point, is gonna attack with those, and the Fire Blast to finish it off. WaningMoon will win game 1 of this best of 5.
Versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild. Victory or death!
Hey there everyone, welcome back. This is game 2 between WaningMoon and Infernity. Let's see how this is gonna go. WaningMoon now playing Warrior, Infernity playing Druid. So game 2, this is a best of 5 and this is conquest mode, so you have to win once with every class. So WaningMoon already having won with his previous class. Now moving over to Warrior, Infernity switching up to Druid, see if that is going to be a little bit better for him. I haven't seen Druid be too popular lately, to be quite honest, especially with the new cards of Blackrock Mountain coming out. But let's see if Infernity has some tricks up his sleeve. So Infernity with a pretty strong opening there as well. Shade of Nox Rams, Pilot Shredder. Shade is gonna grow stronger and stronger. WaningMoon might be forced to just attack into that Shredder. Though let's see what Infernity is gonna get in return. Is gonna get a Patient Assassin. So 2 stealth minions destroy any minion damaged by this minion, but since it's only a 1/1, it's a little bit unfortunate. So now Infernity is sitting at a position where he doesn't want to reveal his Shade, because if he reveals his Shade, then it's gonna get taken down. And he doesn't want to reveal his Patient Assassin as well, but it is going to go down because of that Death's Bite anyway. So WaningMoon bringing out that Harrison Jones, because Infernity can't really do or Infernity is not playing any weapons, so WaningMoon just bringing that one out. Harrison Jones being a tech card that you see like in a lot of decks, like to just prepare, because like a lot of decks like Shaman plays weapons, Warrior plays weapons, like Paladin has their weapons, so it's a good generic card that has its uses. But if you can't, like, if you're playing against a class that doesn't really use weapons at all, it's best to bring it out as early as possible, some players feel. So WaningMoon using that shield block to gain a little bit of extra armor, and the shield slime to get rid of the Emperor Thaurissan. So Infernity only getting the 1 mana reduction cost for 1 turn. And now looking at Infernity sitting at 7 mana, can bring out another Shade and set up a taunter with the Druid of the Claw as well. So it looks like he is gonna do just that. Actually no, it's gonna go into cat form to attack into WaningMoon. Infernity probably doing that because he wants to do as much damage as possible, prevent WaningMoon from gathering up too much armor. WaningMoon is just gonna attack into that one. Doesn't really care too much, and again, card advantage for him. Infernity hasn't really drawn any Ancient of Lores to draw any cards or anything like that, so Infernity considering the MC tech here, so it's just trying to make as much of a board as possible, trying to prevent his own health points from being taken out. I expect WaningMoon for this turn to probably go Sludge Belcher and then attack into the MC, or attack into the MC tech and then Sludge Belcher, just to set up defenses some more. So this is a little bit of a change from like the standard Grim Patron warrior deck we've seen recently, which is a very fun deck to cast if I do say so myself, as it is a little bit more faster paced and a little bit more explosive to watch. Now Infernity with the Sylvanas Windrunner coming out, nothing much else to play, so WaningMoon can actually create his own Sylvanas Windrunner, or with that Faceless Manipulator. Let's see if he's actually gonna do that. I think that one thing that he can actually do is Faceless Manipulate Infernity Sylvanas Windrunner, and then Ironbeak Owl the opposing Sylvanas Windrunner, to make sure it doesn't get its Death Rattle effect off. And it would cost a little bit of mana, but you do copy one of your opponent's key cards, and you do shut down your opponent at the same time.
I wonder.
So it looks like WaningMoon is going to go into that play. Also adds in the Armor Smith instead of armoring up, and it does pass the turn over to Infernity, who has a pretty strong Shade of Nox Ramsnet right now, sitting at 5-4, but again, it's a little bit hard pressed, so Infernity having to use his own Keeper of the Grove to silence the enemy Sylvanas Windrunner, so both now having pretty much a vanilla 5-5 out on the field. And I think that WaningMoon is just waiting, holding on to the execute until Infernity reveals his Shade for like a pretty easy takedown. Infernity, looking at his hand, still has a Big Game Hunter, a Wrath, a Savage Roar, and a Harrison Jones. Can't play the Harrison Jones just yet. WaningMoon does have double Fiery War Axe, but I think that the most amount of cards that Infernity is going to get out of that Harrison Jones is 1. The little slime will spawn the Wrath to follow it up with.
Time waits for no one.
So Infernity shape-shifting set to take down the little slime, and now both players sitting with a fairly decent board here. Infernity deciding to sacrifice his Shade of Nox Rams. Now back to WaningMoon with that Fiery War Axe in hand. Can do a little multitude of things here. Acolyte of Pain and Execute also being available. So it does take down the Sylvanas Windrunner, gains a little bit of extra armor, attacks into the Keeper of the Grove, and gets all that armor pretty much all back from the Armorsmith as well. Not playing the big game hunter just yet, waiting for Infernity to play those big value creatures. Looks like he doesn't bring them out just yet. Infernity, as I predicted, only gets the 1 card from the Harrison Jones. Still has the 5 mana to play the low feb to prevent WaningMoon from playing any spells, but it doesn't really matter to him as he's now sitting at double big game hunter. But now the momentum is favoring Infernity as WaningMoon is kind of trailing behind here. Only has the Acolyte of Pain and Armorsmith available for himself and Execute, but not too sure if he's actually going to use the Execute on the Harrison Jones or the Lofeb at this point. It's just looking to draw a card at this point. Taskmaster to buff up that Lofeb, but now actually has a way to clear out the board with the big game hunter and another attack from the Fiery War Axe. So WaningMoon is on his last weapon, unless he is playing Gorehowl or something like that, which I kind of doubt. So Infernity knows that WaningMoon is running out of weapons in his armory. Still has his own big game hunter, double Savage Roar to play around with. Doesn't have the Force of Nature yet. Infernity kind of hoping for that Force of Nature and maybe even an Innervate so he can double Savage Roar on top of that.
What to do?
And if I were Infernity, I would just probably use that 9 mana to bring out the Pilot of the Shredder, bring out a Druid of the Claw. Not too sure if I would summon it into bear or cap form. If he summoned it in cap form, he could take care of I guess that Armorsmith would be one of the better targets. Realistically, it doesn't really matter too much, and a Pilot Shredder to set up something out on the field just so he has something out on the board. But Druid of the Claw defensively does mean that WaningMoon has to do a little bit more effort
For no one.
to get rid of it properly, unless he decides to use his Execute, but does go into cap form, takes care of the Armorsmith as expected. Pilot Shredder being dropped as well, and turn being passed. Now WaningMoon with the top deck Grommash Hellscream might be able to go on the offensive here. Pilot Shredder drops its minion, and it is going to be a shielded mini bot, so shields up, a red alert coming out, and that is going to be pretty helpful for Infernity. So now WaningMoon has to do even more trouble to get rid of it, and WaningMoon might just be on his last ropes here playing the Grommash Hellscream. So does decide to attack into the Grommash Hellscream. Now Infernity actually has a way to clear out the entire board with the big game hunter and the Savage Roar. But if he does so, it kind of becomes a game of who can top deck their stuff first. And I do have to give the advantage to WaningMoon, or sorry, to Infernity only slightly, because I haven't seen him pull like any of his big creatures just yet. Like I haven't seen him pull his Ancients, haven't seen him pull Cenarius if he does play that one. Will take out the board completely with his big game hunter. Doesn't use the Savage Roar, using the swipe instead. Wanting to save that Savage Roar for later up. But WaningMoon with the top deck, Ysera will start to generate a lot of cards from that. So let's see what he got from that one. Got himself an Emerald Drake, and now Infernity is trying to draw as much cards as possible. Excess mana into Sludge Belcher is going to help out a little bit, but that Ysera, as long as it stands, it's going to generate more and more cards, and I feel that Infernity might be forced to use that Savage Roar next turn just to buff his creatures up there. Is just going to go straight for the attack here. Now, if Infernity manages to pull a Force of Nature next turn, then it is pretty much over for WaningMoon. Shield Slam coming in just to take care of that big game hunter, and now it's only the Sludge Belcher remaining. That is a strong presence on the field. I don't think that WaningMoon even wants to attack with Ysera, just wants to generate as much cards as possible. But Ysera awakens 5 damage to all characters except Ysera, so not the best card at this point. guessing that WaningMoon at this point wants to get those Emerald Drakes, wants to get those Laughing Sisters. Is gonna draw a card, does get his Force of Nature card out, so he can start pulling off those combos. If he gets an Innervate the next turn, and that's gonna be huge for him.
I wonder. What to do? Time waits for no one.
So Infernity does decide to go for the attack here, only drawing cards here, but WaningMoon with the top deck Sludge Belcher will set up defensive. Here's Infernity, no way to break through with any card he might draw next turn. And even with the slime being taken out, Infernity needs to top deck something. Does pull into an Innervate, but it is just not enough, I think. I'm having to do the math here, so he will get triple Trians with 2/2 that get charged, and they will get buffed up by 4, so they're all going to be 6/6 at the very least. But he has to sacrifice 2 attacks just to get rid of the Sludge Belcher, and himself, he's going to get buffed up to 4 as well, so he can do a maximum of 10 damage to WaningMoon, and it's just not going to be enough.
Time waits for no one.
Force of Nature is going to be played along with the Savage Roar, and I think that Infernity might be hoping that he can get another Force of Nature out, but is going to go all out with the Savage Roar plays here, so let's see what he can do. Infernity is going to concede, and that's going to mean that WaningMoon is up 2-0 in this best of 5.
versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine! Your soul shall suffer!
Hey there everyone, welcome back to Game 3 between WaningMoon and Infernity. WaningMoon being 2-0 ahead in this best of 5. If he wins this one, he will be moving on towards the quarterfinals. Infernity, not with the best mulligan I've ever seen. Double Shadow Flame, Emperor Forison, and an Iron Beacon double Mortal Coil. He's probably going to be hitting himself in the head at this point. Now, WaningMoon is in a lot better position at this point. Can't play that Haunted Creeper to get that guaranteed knife into Infernity, and another Abusive Sergeant to get another guaranteed knife, plus the 5 damage, plus the one from Voidwalker. So, turn 3, Infernity is already sitting at 11 health, or at 11 damage, with sitting only at 19 health. And he is just not pulling too well. Like, I guess the Infernity might just be throwing out at least a Mortal Coil just to draw a card at this point. And he can maybe draw another card with the life tap, but he just can't bring anything out on the field at this point. Like, everything he can bring out is like, so he can bring out the Acidic Swamp Ooze. So let's say Infernity is gonna draw cards at this point. So WaningMoon is sitting at for 5 damage at this point, plus Power Overwhelming for 9. So he can do at least 10 damage to Infernity at this point, assuming that Abusive Sergeant is going to go down, which it does. So it is 9 damage for him at this point, dropping him to 10. Acidic Swamp is being dropped, and kind of all depends what WaningMoon is going to draw right now. It draws himself a Void Caller, but I feel that WaningMoon can just keep going on to aggressive, force Infernity to a low health amount, because Infernity's not been like showing very typical plays here. Standard to a Warlock, I feel like it might be kind of obvious that he's breaking. Does sacrifice his spider though, just to get 2 extra spiders, more damage landing onto Infernity, who is now sitting at 13 health, and he has to do something here. Draws into a Dr. Boom, which is not going to be helpful at this point. And I feel that all that Infernity can do right now is just bring out the Giant and hope that WaningMoon doesn't have lethal next turn. I'm actually looking to see if he does or does not. So it doesn't even matter at this point. Like, I don't see any way for Infernity to win this one. He can stall for 1 turn if he
so many possibilities.
If he plays Mountain Giant and coin Mortal Coils the Spectral Spider, he'll like live for 1 more turn in total, I think, unless that dagger coming from the Iron Beak Owl is gonna land into Infernity himself, then it's gonna be all but over. So it looks like Infernity is gonna play his only play here, coin Mortal Coil to draw a card here, and now it all depends on what WaningMoon is gonna draw. Draws himself an Ancient Watcher, and he's probably thinking to himself, why didn't I not get this card earlier? Sylvanas Windrunner coming life tap for WaningMoon. And I think that he's just calculating, how much damage do I need? Am I going to take a 50% chance on doing this? Yes, he is. Dagger landing into Infernity, and that is gonna be a game, a very quick game in favor of WaningMoon. The last damage landing. Infernity just with a terrible streak of bad luck in this game. Just not drawing the cards he needs. Is eliminated from the tournament, and WaningMoon will be moving on towards the quarterfinals. So congratulations to WaningMoon moving on towards